Welcome welcome friends to the newest edition of Seahawkers What If, the most unique Seahawks preview show in the multiverse. I'm your host, Clinton Bonner, coming out on Twitter and find me at Clinton Bon. I am joined by the one, the only, the great Brandon Schultz, and find him out on Twitter at SeahawkersPod. This would not be, it could not be, we could not traverse the Seahawks multiverse without the protector of the Seahawks multiverse. And we all know that is Mr. Phil Leidick, waving down there if you're watching on YouTube. Gentlemen, we are 1-5 in our last 6. I'm not too sure the road gets any easier ahead for our Seahawks, but I'm not giving up faith. Like George Michael sang, you gotta have it. I still got it. I still got the faith. Brandon, as this is the most revenge-worthy Seahawks game ever, it seems like it's a revenge game for everybody. Everybody gets a revenge journey, revenge tour. How are you feeling as we go into week 17 on a 1-5 skid versus a Jets team that maybe they don't suck this year? How you feeling, dude?
Well, geez, when you put it that way, I was all excited coming into this show because here we have a Geno Smith revenge game. He's undefeated in his revenge games this year, so this is going to be a win against a team that looks like they're on the outside of the playoffs. So we've got 2 non-playoff teams coming up, and one of those is a revenge game, and one is a team that we've already beaten once. I thought I was feeling good, but then you had to go and reference all these games that we've lost recently and make me feel not so good.
Yeah, well, you know, the truth hurts sometimes. And right now we're in a skid, Mr. Phil. We are in a skid. So, you know, we know you're gonna break out the themiology. We know you're gonna give us some previously with the protector to let us know. We know lots of folks don't watch a lot of Jets. I live in Connecticut. I think folks know that by now. I grew up on Long Island. I end up watching a good amount of these Jets. And they do some things well. Before we get into the previously with the protector, how are you feeling overall, Mr. Phil, in this 1-5 skid? How's your faithometer with these 2022, soon to be 2023 Seattle Seahawks?
Oh, I've enjoyed the season either way. I feel here's very, very importantly for me is we do one of 2 things. We win both games or we lose both games. I've got no interest in going down the middle. And if we're going to win both games, we need to go to the playoffs. So we got to root for some other things. Because, I mean, when you talk about first round draft pick drop, every little slot makes a big difference on what we can get for getting more picks or for next year or the kind of player. I want to go to the playoffs every year. So that's always going to be the priority. So if we can get into the playoffs, that's the priority. I think this team can do it. I don't know what they could do in the playoffs, but anybody can win when you get there. So I feel like there's some fun to look forward to. But what's awesome about this year, if we lose them both, there's a lot of fun to look forward to as well. So I'm down with that. I think we can beat the Jets, though. I really, you've got a lot to say. I didn't do a full regular previously with the protector because I thought most of us might have watched the Monday night experience that they had. So I didn't do the rundown. You've watched them quite a bit. What's the vibe around there in New England about the Jets right now? Because they started out a lot better, kind of like us. They had a good takeoff and they're not playing near as well as they did earlier. What's the feeling?
Yeah. So, and the feeling, and I get a lot of WFAN. So for those that know sports radio, WFAN is like Mike and the Mad Dog, like, you know, Mad Dog Russo is over on MLB Network and everything. So we're talking about like iconic, you know, sports radio that has been around for a long time and has exceeded its New York bounds in many ways.
This is where East Coast bias comes from.
Correct. It is like it's just
starts there.
It's out there.
It's like
more.
the New York Times. It's like what New York Times does to politics, WFAN does to
the WFAN does that to
Okay.
sports radio, and I don't disagree. The vibe is really, really binary in the sense that it's like, hey, with Mike White, the Jets are a Super Bowl contender. Like that's
I didn't expect that coming.
That is the fabric of a Jets fan right now. That this is not just a playoff
delusional
team.
Jets fan. I think you need to couch it as that.
This is what I've
grown up with. In that case, previously with the protector would have been total trash anyway, because that was a Zach Wilson experience and a guy that only knows how to run. Yeah,
that's the point. Is like that this team is good enough with a competent quarterback that they can make
right.
serious playoff noise. That's the vibe. And, in the parts of Connecticut that get a little more Jetsy. And then, of course, you listen to WFAN and Sal from the Bronx and Vinny from Queens as they call up. They're like, I'm telling you guys, I'm telling you, with Mike White, we could go this far.
Gotcha.
It is delusional Jets fandom, and I don't blame them for that. That's how they are. It's I'm used to it. I'm used to it. With that, I will say, this is a very legitimate defense. It is
Okay, yeah. I thought so.
extraordinarily. All the problems we have, the problems that we saw against the Niners, that just keep on having. Guess what? They're not going to disappear with the Jets. They're going to be exemplified.
They're more interior pass rush, right?
The
Am I
problems
right?
we had with Chris Jones on that rewatch,
Yes.
he was freaking Godzilla versus a much lesser monster. There was no competition. Quinn Williams, okay, good luck. He's every bit of Jones this year. So again, I'm more in the belly of the beast with this one, living in the Northeast and growing up on Long Island. That side of their defense is the defense side is very legitimate. Our problems are not going to just go away because the Jets stink. They don't. They're quite a good defensive team. The Mike White stuff, whatever. Put him in the Brock Purdy category. Doesn't mean he won't go off against us because we're not a very good defense right now, but I don't think he's anything special.
Well, that's kind of why I did. There was the two reasons why I didn't do previously with Protector. For one, most people probably watch Monday Night Football. For two, that was a Zach Wilson team, which means they're different, right? I mean, that I don't know who wouldn't beat Zach Wilson when the guy plays the way he did. It kind of ruined his team's chances entirely. And so I did scrap it that way. Might as well go ahead and get into we kind of got an idea of what was. We'll see more of that within the questions. And let's get into what if with the category. Too bad we don't get to play Zach Wilson, but the team overall, their DVOA is 13th, so they obviously are pretty good. Offense is only 21st. Their defense is 6th. Special teams 24th, so that's where we have our advantage probably. Jets fans, they haven't had a lot to be proud of in the past several years, right? That they find things to be excited about, but they haven't had a lot. One thing they always love to do. They love to do this. They show their ability to spell, don't they? They're famous for spelling SPELL. And so we invite them up to the soggy Northwest. And I can tell you, because I'm over here in Seattle right now, as we invite them up here, which of these floundering teams, they've been good, but their record is meh. Right now they haven't been winning as much as we wish, both fans wish. What if spelling is the key to WINNING? And so our categories are spelling bee, spells trouble, or spell relief. How do you spell relief? And so we'll start with spelling bee. Spelling bee, this is an odd numbered episode, which means Brandon will go first. What if, Brandon? What if our two Bs at linebacker, Brooks and Barton, can have a big impact in this game? What are you looking for from the linebackers in this game? The Jets are supposed to have a pretty good running game, but their best runner is hurt. They do some things in the short intermediate area. Can Brooks and Barton have a good game, and what will that mean for us as we face the Jets, Brandon?
Well, Clinton, Phil, both of you.
Someone with a B beard, right?
Yes.
What I want to say is B is for blitzing, because I want to see Barton or Brooks doing some blitzing in this game with very little run game, with them going to the pass. Now, I don't know if Mike White, by the numbers, generally is pretty good against the blitz. But I want them to be just to have it in their mind to be getting rid of that football quickly, have the defense playing up on their receivers. And that's going to, I think, help out the back end, because I'm curious to see how this plays out defensively. I want to talk more about some of these outside matchups, but we'll stick to the linebackers for now. And I just, based on what we've seen, I think that when when they're blitzing, that it can benefit the defense more than whatever else our two linebackers have been doing.
That's their strength. You've got, okay. How about you, Clinton? How can they make a difference in this game against the JETSs?
First, I want to recognize and say that I love the categories. Love them, love them all. Especially when you're harkening back to a 1980s, 1990s Rolaids commercial that a certain few folks will get, and how we spell relief. So I'm excited for that category. So good job. With that, the B for me stands for a blown C, blown coverage, which we've seen. Seattle is the worst in the league from a fantasy perspective, right? Which sometimes fantasy doesn't matter. Sometimes it does. In this particular case, the Seattle Seahawks are the worst team, or the best team, depending on how you frame it, for tight end points in fantasy football, because we just fail to cover tight ends over and over and over and over and over again. Now, sometimes it's a tip the hat with the Kittle play where he got open on the first touchdown, or the second touchdown, maybe, I forget, against the 49ers. But the other times, we forget that Kelsey's on the field in a really important drive. And
how's Conklin and Uzoma? Are Conklin and Uzoma dangerous?
The thing is, they're good enough. They're fine. I see
they can beat blown coverage.
Right, exactly.
Oh,
That's the point. Conklin's not bad. Conklin is like one of those dudes talk about fantasy that was like hyped up, like, oh, he's going to have the kind of good year. Now, the thing is, Zach Wilson didn't throw over the middle a lot, and he didn't throw to his running backs a lot. And Mike White is a bit of a check down hero. So you could bet your bottom dollar you're going to see balls, to the running backs and balls to the tight ends, which means our linebackers not only have to be sure tacklers, which has been a challenge this year, but they got to read it the right way. And we can't have, while it's not Kelsey or Kittle, doesn't really matter. If they're open by 10 yards, they're open by 10 yards. And Mike White's good enough to find Conklin down the seam, open 22 yards downfield, because no one's covering him. So, and in particular, I've been more harsh on Brooks than I have on Barton this year, but I think I'm right about the why. So I need Brooks to step up and be better in coverage and shut down what would be, other words, very earthly tight ends. If they end up looking like Kittle and Kelsey, we don't win this game, very flatly.
Good point. Yeah, that'd be bad. That'd be bad if we made those guys look like Kittle and Kelsey, because that'd be embarrassing. We continue with the spelling bee. Our spelling bee here, this side goes over to Clinton. He's a Bonner, so he's a B himself. But how about we talk about this B right here? And this is the one that maybe scares all of us the most, because we've had reason to be scared. What if Blythe and the rest of the interior O-line can do better, right? What if they can do better, or have their weaknesses mitigated against Keenan Williams, Sheldon Rankins? I mean, these guys are serious threats up the inside. Here's the spell, HOW. How can we mitigate our weakness against their strength, Mr. Clinton?
Tough one, tough task when you're like, okay, it's the same six dudes we're rolling out there. And I say six because we rotate, beefy boy with Gabe Jackson, right? And we've just lost what is our best tight end blocker for the year. So difficult. Might we see funny enough, might we see the sixth? This is a way, right? Do we go back to the George Fant era? Do we bring in Forsyth, say, right, and line him up as the eligible sixth, like we saw Fant for a number of years before we just let him go and become a good tackle in the NFL, which the writing was on the wall. Didn't even.
Does that help? Does that help the inside, you think, by adding the sixth lineman on the out?
It could. Sometimes we put the 13 personnel in, it hasn't meant much to the inside. It's a bit of like, how do you ask these dudes to play better? How do you ask Damian Lewis when clearly he looks like he should be chipping somebody before getting to the second level, to do his job, to chip and not pretend like, Charles Cross.
His fingers grazed the jersey of Chris Jones, Clinton.
Right. The play we're talking about where
yeah, I do.
That was Derek Young is lined up as a fullback. That's a cool concept, right? But if we don't at least chip the beasts inside, we're not going to get different outcomes. So hate to be so direct with like they need to perform better. And I don't know the how we do that. So maybe getting the 6th guy in there, maybe some more fullback sets where we're running, Derek Young's got to go through towards Williams. We'll see I haven't seen it in a while, haven't seen it in weeks. So it leads me to scratch my head and say, I hope we perform better there, but I'm not very bullish we will.
Brandon, you want to bring in another B like Ballore? Do you want to do some movement? What do you got? Is there a way we can mitigate this terrifying weakness, Blythe and the boys versus Keenan Williams, Rankins? What do you got, Brandon? Please.
You can mitigate this, and you don't have to go back that far to look at how the Jacksonville Jaguars attacked the Jets defense. They went to the quick game a lot. So Trevor Lawrence, he dropped back within 2 seconds. He was dropping the ball off to one of his receivers. So they did a lot of quick game stuff. And whether it's hitting the running back out of the backfield, whether it's, just dunking it off to a tight end or, on the outside, I think that the Seahawks
I like that imagery. Dunking it off.
Dunking
it up. He's tall enough. He's just going to go over the top. He's going to Kobe him or something, right?
Yeah.
Dunk it off to the tight end. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And I hope it's with the receivers and with DK Metcalf, because I don't trust too many of the other receivers on the Seahawks team. But fortunately, we still have 2 healthy tight ends and the DK Metcalf.
Is Homer playing here?
I don't know.
Okay.
I do want to say quickly, this is part of the beauty of the show is like, I was like, I didn't even have like Princess Leia hope. And then Brandon comes in and R2 wiggles into the room and the hologram comes up and it's Brandon saying, no, we have a way. And this is the way. And it reminded me of that game because we were actually texting during that game or Twittering, I forget. And it was like, oh, wow, look, like ETN's getting the ball in stride. And that's part of it too, is like, yes. And can we do the thing where we dink and dunk ourselves and it's Ken Walker catching it with at least a little bit of steam, where he's not completely turned parallel, having to jump in the air and then make a move where it's just you see Josh Allen do it. You see Mahomes do it. Now you're seeing Trevor Lawrence do it. And to your point, Brandon, it absolutely does mitigate. And we've seen Brady do it for 2 decades. And it absolutely does mitigate that interior pressure that we are going to face. So I think it's a great point. Now,
and it creates some of the tempo because and they weren't all short passes by the Jaguars. It was, hit a short one, and maybe run the ball, and then you look downfield and you'd hit a 15-yard guy because they're kind of used to that tempo of the short stuff. Then you can kind of attack the middle of the defense a little bit too.
Yeah,
this is where we miss Penny, because he was like the best guy we've had in the past 5-6 years, where he could actually know how to get the boost going right when he would grab that ball and go with it. He's like the only guy we've had that does that. I mean, Disley does, but he doesn't have the speed, right? Disley's catching on the move, but it's like, third gear is
that's his top.
That's where he tops out.
That's all he's got. So yeah, I'd like to see Walker learn that move. I'd like to see Walker and Geno get in sync with him to where they could do that. That would be huge. Hit it to him while he's going. Okay. Spells trouble. We will get to spells relief later, but we still got to deal with some of the difficulties that's going to cause our gut to turn a little bit as we go to this game. Spells trouble. Brandon's first. What if something has happened in the first quarter that spells trouble for the outcome? So as we're looking ahead to this game, a lot of the multiverse can go many ways. We're going to face the Jets. What might have happened in the first quarter that's going to really spell trouble for how this game might go, Brandon?
Yeah, turnovers spell trouble against this Jets team, because if you're having to throw and you want to throw deep against this Jets defense, you're going to have a hard time. You got now one matchup that'll be fun to watch is DJ Reed up on DK Metcalf, because they generally stick their corners to one side from everything that I've seen, and DJ Reed plays on the Tariq Woolen sides on the right side of the Jets defense.
Sauce but Metcalf Gardner could switch and get Sauce, right? If you want,
he could, but we don't generally see DK go down to that spot. He's normally on the left side of the Seahawks offense, but I'd like to see that matchup too. I think that the size advantage that he has over Reed is the more beneficial matchup, but they might be more comfortable with single coverage if you drop DK down and attack Gardner that way. So it will be interesting to see how Seattle tries to attack that. Do they go after Gardner a little bit? But I am concerned, though, if we get too far down, that they'll start getting away from more of that quick game stuff, trying to look for more deep passes downfield. And this Jets defense is really good. That I with that, then you introduce too that strong middle of their defensive interior that's going to be breaking through. And I have that concern that if we fall down too much, that the Jets defense is really going to be able to put a lot of pressure on Geno and take away some of those big passes.
Yeah, I like the matchup of DK versus DJ, and they should know his weaknesses. But if we're going to do that, it's got to be one of those loft over the top, the old Joe Montana type passes where you just have the faith. Clinton started off with faith that DK is going to go up and get it, because you're not going to have time to see if DK has beat him or positioned himself. It's got to be a immediate snap it, toss it up Kurt Warner style, and know your guy's going to get it. Clinton, what might portend for trouble for TROUBLE, right? What might portend for that? Something in the first quarter that we just can't have happen in this game, Clinton.
Yeah, I think this one is fairly mathematical in the sense that what was the Carolina game now? 2 games ago or 3 games ago? Is that right? Is that 3 games removed?
It's a long time.
I try to forget these painful things.
It was within the last month, right? It was within the last month, and then Kansas City was last week, right? So I think it's within the last, whatever, it's in this 1-5 streak for sure. In both those games, we were down 17-0. So, I know that's like, duh, you can't go down 17-0. But I think it's also like even a 7-point deficit, if we're down 7-0 early, 3-0, whatever, shake it off.
Yeah.
That's fine. 7-0 at home, where now Vegas has us getting 1.5 at home. So Vegas is saying, hey, Jets are 3 to 4 point favorite here because the home, quote unquote, home
for 1.5. 1.5,
so
2.5.
Yeah, we're getting, I bet that goes up to 2 points. Talk about the East Coast bias and where the money will go. I can almost guarantee you that'll be 2 points before kickoff that we're getting. Okay, interesting. So if we're down 7, we're down more than a field goal early before we strike. It ain't gonna be good, because I think Brandon, you and I felt the energy in the Seahawks stadium, at Lumen, kind of gets sucked out of the air pretty darn quickly. And then we had chances at getting back to it, but it never quite got there again. And we need it. We're going to need that vibrancy and that noise to kind of extinguish this Jets team for as long as we possibly can. So if we're down 7 or 10-0 early, it's going to be difficult. So that's part of it. One thing I want to say about Brandon's answer about DK, I mean, DJ Reed's really good. This is the one player I think we could all look back at this year and be like, darn it, like that's the dude. Maybe
instead of Disley, we should have gone for DJ.
He just did not need to walk, right? It's like, and we had money. We could have had the cap space. What I would like to see is when we finally started having success versus the 49ers is when DK was running a lot of slants. He was running over the middle, big. So why don't we, shepherd that in a way that, like, let's put DK in a slot a few times. Like, I don't want to test him against Sauce. I think what you said is right, Brandon. He probably won't naturally. I don't particularly want to test him against DJ that much. If we can,
Whitehead's pretty good there at strong safety, though, right?
He is, but so is Ward, and so some of the other dudes from the Niners, and we still were able to work the middle. I just would like to see us working the middle with DK as a way to not get down by 7 or 10 early. So if it's 10-3 or 7-3, but we score early enough where how about this to crystallize it? The first quarter gun doesn't go off and we have a 0 on the board. That will spell big time trouble.
Unless there's 2 of them. Unless there's 2 zeros.
Yes. And I don't trust our defense long enough to hold that off for the entire game. There's going to be, the levee will break at some point. I'm more concerned that we get out. So trouble will be, the scoreboard says first quarter 0-0:0, and we have a 0 next to our Seahawks name. that'll spell some trouble. Like we need
Okay.
to put points on the board.
All right. I could see that. All right. Something else spells trouble. We're kind of close here. We keep talking about DK. How about we just go right for Geno? What if Geno can show you something in the first half that spells trouble for the Jets Jets? What does that, and I'm going to underline this one word. What does that need to be? What does Geno need to show you, Clinton, to spell TROUBLE for the Jets?
Okay. This is a symbiotic relationship, right? So Geno is not out there with 10 other dudes who don't matter.
No, sure.
But with that, I will leave the other pieces alone for now and kind of just say, I expect pressure. I don't expect the interior line to perform better. What evidence have they given us that they're going to? With that, I will go with one of the things that I could go say and say, I'd like to see him use his legs with more intention because things are breaking down quickly. He had chances last game to move the chains where he decided to throw the ball. And earlier in the year, I think he was taking more of what the defense gave. And many times that meant using his legs to go convert third downs. With his feet. So let's see that early where if stuff is breaking down, fine, bail on it. Who cares? We've got to move the chains. If that means you become more of a running quarterback to loosen things up.
Well, and Thor from Jacksonville was able to show that a little bit.
Yeah.
Running on him a few times.
Yeah. I mean, he Lawrence is a pretty capable back. And with that, he did a lot more of that in college, right? And he's kind of curbed it in the NFL game.
But he really used it against the Jets. He really
did. Absolutely. And that has nothing to do with Mike White. Nothing. That has to do with the other quarterback taking what's there against a team where we know there's going to be breakdowns in the middle. So let's shuffle those feet, Geno. Let's take what's there. That's my answer.
Brandon, what does Geno need to show you in the first half this week?
All he needs to show me is that he's the same guy that he's been all season. And that has been consistent. That's been accurate. That's been, I think that everything that Geno has struggled with has been because they haven't been as great on the ground in the second half of the season, especially early. I mean, you look at what Walker did in that first half against the Chiefs. It was basically nothing. You turn that around
10 for nothing.
And yeah,
you spent $10 and you got nothing.
Yeah. So as long as the run game is enough of a compliment for Geno that he can just be his usual self of what he's been this season. He hasn't been super turnover prone. I mean, we've seen it here and there, but I just think that he can, as long as he can play his game to the level that we've seen him throughout the season, I think we'll be fine.
Okay. He's had a few turnover worthy plays more than he did in the first half. And I felt like his decision making in the first half was like, you barely saw one to question. I don't know if you guys thought. You would watch a game and you're like, I liked almost every decision. I feel like, and maybe this is just me, I feel like in the second half, and part of it is just, it's the same guys at offensive line. It's the very same guys. And we have Walker instead of Penny, but Walker was doing good for a while there too. It's a lot of the same guys. What's different about the decisions? It seems like there's most drives I'm getting a decision I don't like. Maybe that's on Shane though. Maybe this question should have been about Shane. I don't know, but I feel like in the moment, you guys don't get that. You feel like you like his decisions just as well now as in the first half of the year.
I'm with you. I think there's been a little bit of the shine has come off Geno in the last few weeks, and the hard part for me is like, is it justified? And that's the part I struggle with. I'm just like, I don't know if it's just, is it some decision making? Is it simply, well, the dude has no time where we can't run the ball, so the easy stuff is gone.
Yeah, maybe it's just the running game died, so that's throwing his ability to take those off.
I think the play that comes to mind for me was we tried a fake toss left, boot right against the Chiefs last game. I think it was kind of fairly early, And it was just, there's nothing there because the edge guy did not have to worry about it. Didn't have to bite whatsoever. He just stayed with Geno, and then the other linebacker stayed with Fant. So it was covered up on the first level, and Geno's under duress instantly. So, and to me, that's a consequence of not being able to. They don't got to respect the run. That it seems like the easy street stuff has been taken away, and therefore, I think Geno's decisions have gotten, I'm going to say exponentially harder.
Yeah.
And we're seeing the result of that. And I don't think it's like illogical. I think that's what's happening. So I think it's like at the core of it, how do we get back to easier things? And not because Geno can't make decisions, but because they're higher completion percentage plays and it looks smoother.
Skill wise, I have no problem. I don't think the skill has changed on him. I think he's done everything just as well skill wise as he has all year. And maybe you've just helped me understand it. It's a lot harder to make decisions when you don't have the run game flowing.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get to the first
when
and
you're
second
down 17 points.
Third and long. I'm going to get to a first and second down question later, so I don't need to tap into that yet. But yeah, it's a lot harder on third and long to make choices for sure.
I want Geno Smith to make riskier choices when we're down 17 points. That would help us get us back in the game. And yeah, unfortunately, those don't work out in your favor as much, which is, why they tend to run the give up plays on third and long, because just you end up inviting more risk into the equation.
Yeah. Boo. But
okay.
You're right.
Third category, spell relief. And I think Clinton already said how we all spelled relief when we were young boys as the commercials came on. Selfish question. And I mentioned this. For me, this is going to be a selfish question. I don't want one win unless we can get two. And I already mentioned that. I don't want one. If it's not both, I don't care.
I like that.
Brandon, what if our D can show you something in this game against Mike White that'll make you feel hopeful against the McVay Mayfield twins, right? The Mayfield McVay coming up. Are there things that our D can do to make us believe we can still get a winning season? That's enough, not just one win means we're set up to get a winning season. And we got to get that next. Then I'm really going to care about the next one at a time. I care about this game because I care about every game. But I want to see something that makes me feel like we can beat McVay. And what can our defense show us something against Mike White that's going to make you feel better, Brandon?
Yeah, it's not so much against Mike White necessarily on the Jet side of the ball that I'm most concerned about. It is Michael Carter. It's the other Mike. And it's bad running backs. And if I can see our defense take a bad running back out of the game this week, I can be more confident when it comes to Cam Akers next week. And that would be the path to being able to win because, they do have some good receivers on this Jets team. Garrett Wilson, outstanding rookie receiver. Corey Davis is pretty good if he holds on to the ball. He's kind of a little bit of a drop machine now and then. Elijah Moore, a young receiver that I think has the potential, that plays in the slot. And I'm not that concerned about him. I am concerned about the Jets' ability to run the football. That would ultimately give Mike White some time to hit some of these receivers when they do decide to go to the pass. But if they can't stop Carter and the Jets run game, it's over.
So, Clinton, I not only want to, after this game on Sunday, revel in the joy of a victory, I want to have the relief that my defense can do well against a somewhat mediocre offense. Can that happen, and how this week?
It can happen, right? So it's a yes. The short answer is yep. I do think it can happen. The how becomes a little bit cloudier. One of the folks I quote a bit, I certainly learned from, are the dudes at the Overload podcast, Seattle Overload, and it was interesting, watching some of Matty F. Brown's takes on our Kansas City fits, and he's like, some of the stuff we're running are these zone concepts straight out of 2013. And he's making the point that like this team is really trotting out like 2 or 3 different, wildly different defensive schemes within one game.
Whoa.
So it's a little bit of like do we know what we want to do? And how much is Pete being like, let's just go back to what works versus the 3-4. And we see it right in the middle of the game. We'll see a 3-4, stance, if you will. And then the next series or a play later, they swap. They're in a 4-3. It's just interesting to see. I don't think we 16 weeks in, into week 17 of the season. I don't think we understand our identity on defense, which is tough. So how do we get there? One dude that really I think is going to fly under the radar potentially is that Elijah Moore in the slot. He's been like a kind of a forgotten man. Early in the season, he's seemingly in the doghouse. And then like if you talk about like, well, why does Mike White matter? Well, Mike White matters because he throws the ball to Elijah Mitchell. He uses the middle of the field. Wilson didn't throw to the dude. So it's a thing we've been wanting and asking for that kind of third wide receiver for a long time now. So if we start to see Elijah Moore, I apologize. Elijah Moore, racking up multiple receptions early in this game, it's going to be a challenge, right? So Mr. Phil, how do we do it? I'm a little head scratching, like how we show that out. I do think it's,
are we trying to confuse the opponent? We end up confusing ourselves. Is that kind of the concern?
It sounds like we were complicating things. And I don't know it well enough to say one way or the other. They have Bam Knight as well, right? Their other running back and Michael Carter. How do we show it to you and show it to the world that we can then do it again versus the Rams? I don't know. I just think we got to it's a keep the Jets under 120 yards rushing combined and make sure the middle of the field is not being exposed by Elijah Moore, or Tyler Conklin. Like really, really, if they want to go beat us with Garrett Wilson on the outside and take their chances, then so be it. Let them take their chances on the outside. Garrett Wilson's a heck of a football player, but let that be the thing that you're like, all right, you want to go one-on-one versus Jackson or versus Tariq? Go ahead. Let's see it, Mike White. Beat us outside, outdoors in December in Seattle. If you do that, tip the cap. If we allow him to be who he is, which is a dink and dunk master over the middle of the field, and we're being exposed right between the hashes, that's what we got to stop, both in the run game and the pass game. So long-winded way of saying that middle is going to matter a ton. And I think we're going to know, a quarter and a half into the game, which way this one's bending.
And it's going to be on Kobe Bryant, because that's going to be your guy who would match up with Moore in the slot. But I actually like that matchup. It's going to be if they look for that mismatch of Garrett Wilson on Kobe Bryant, then I would worry, because I think that's where they could expose us pretty well. Now, if Bryant's able
one
to,
of our Bs, well, any of the Bs.
Yeah.
Brian,
for sure.
Barton and Brooks.
I would like to see us play more nickel, I guess, against the Jets. And I think that's more of our path to victory there.
I do have a question. Yeah. Do we know Ryan Neal? I know it's early, we're recording this only Wednesday morning still, Pacific time. Ryan Neal status? Did we get anything from yesterday? Is he?
We won't get really anything for injuries until late in the afternoon today. On Wednesday. Yeah.
Yep. I feel like I ask that every single week, and I go like, he's pretty big to understand. Like, will Ryan Neal be there? And I thought we did okay without him, all things considered. We did okay. But I think if we're going to play nickel and we want to, we want 7 dudes in the box, so you're not going to run against us, or we're going to take away the short stuff. Ryan Neal would be a crucial piece to have ready also. So I guess we'll see.
One thing that stood out, neither of you said anything about pass rush, so we're not expecting that to be the secret sauce. So
I said blitz. I want to send the bees.
A long time ago, blitz. But I mean, like, expecting our pass rushers to show. I mean, we kind of know who they are at this point. So
I think there is. I mean, it's not like the former Seahawks that are the tackles for the Jets are playing outstanding this season.
They're not.
Dwayne Brown is kind of okay. Fant is okay.
They didn't look good against the Jags. But.
No.
Well, the Jags, it's a great point. I mean, the Jags tore them up. The Jags have been getting hotter like a couple of years ago, it was Saxonville, right? They were the best at it. And then it really kind of took a back seat. Early this year, Jacksonville could not generate a pass rush at all. And, a team starts to find their swagger, and lo and behold, it comes out not just on the offensive side of the ball.
And then you play Zach Wilson and you look good no matter what.
Right. But to your point though, but they were causing a lot of havoc, whether that was Zach or Mike White. That wouldn't have been a cakewalk for Mike White, just would have been a better outcome. But they might not have won that game anyway. But it's a good point, Phil, that you're making. We do know who these guys are, but the question is going to be against a kind of bang average offensive line, which I think is what this is. All right, well then, can Nwosu be,
yes,
what can he do? Can Nwosu go get that 1.5?
Because he can against the Rams. He did against the Rams, right? I mean,
yeah,
he should be able to do it this one. Then he can do it again. And I agree. I think we have the players to at least stop a mediocre to bad running back. We should be able to do that. It's not, our talent isn't great, but if we would just be scheme right, we should be able to do that. And so I'm hoping, guys, give me some hope there. The next question here under spell relief toward Clinton. What if we can get some relief from all these 3rd and long situations?
Yeah.
What is the proper philosophy for this team of players against this opponent on 1st and 2nd down so that we can get it to 6 or fewer on above average, like more often than not? Can we have 3rd and 6 or fewer against these Jets? What's the proper philosophy, Quentin?
Yeah, great question. And I love that you're even making it 3rd and 6. Like, you're not asking for the world here, right? You're not asking for, we got to be in 3rd and 2.
Just want to average 2 yards on 1st and 2nd down. That's it.
Right.
I don't need, I'm not saying I want all 3rd and 6s.
No, but
nobody listening needs that. Or less. 3rd and 6 or less.
Right. But it's an acceptable range where you're not like, oh crap, we're in 3rd and 11 again. We're in 3rd and 12. We're in 3rd and 9, which we saw over and over in the Kansas City game and some of the other games recently. So I like that you called out 3rd and 6, because it's a feel. It's a feel. You're like, okay, or less. You can, okay, very, very manageable, right?
That means some of those are 3rd and 2 and 3 and 1,
Yeah,
4.
we would
Some
want
of them
more
are.
of those, but
we shouldn't see the other. Yeah.
Right. But we have been. And I think as a Seahawk fandom, we're more accepting right now of 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6. Okay, not so bad, because we've seen so much overloaded of the 3rd and 10s. With that, the way to do it, I think, is a bit of math simplicity, right? The first things first, we really probably ought to run the ball a lot on 1st down. If we want to establish the run, it might go against, hey, 1st down's the down to throw and all that jazz. Cool. I'm okay if we overload on running the ball on 1st down with an attempt to win time of possession and get Ken Walker going early. And there's an absolute second part to that equation. If you do not get at least 2 yards on 1st down, do not run 2nd and 8, 2nd and 10. We've been doing that, in my opinion, just too much lately. It infuriates me when you throw the ball on 1st down, it's incomplete, or it goes for a yard, and then you run the ball on 2nd and 9, 2nd and 10. I just think it's such a, like you were saying earlier, Phil, hey, we got to win both or lose both. So if you get into 2nd and 9 or 2nd and 10, throw the friggin' ball. And if you did, I don't care how you got there. If you got there by a run or by a pass on 1st down, regardless, doesn't matter. But if you're in 2nd and 9, 2nd and 10, 2nd and 11, do not run the ball. At that point, throw on 2nd down, throw on 3rd down. If you're close enough on 4th down, go for it. That's how we could get into more manageable, is just kind of committing to that philosophy, in my opinion.
Yeah. And the free one is, how about we don't throw it short of the change on 4th down? But that
was so frustrating.
Multiple times. Okay, Brandon, is there a way that we can improve this? Give us some relief on these 3rd and longs here. Do you have thoughts on a philosophy for doing that?
Yeah. Can Ken Walker be the guy that we saw in the second half against the Chiefs, being decisive and going for it? Yeah. D is for decisive, not defense anymore.
Decisive. Be decisive. Yeah.
There you go. So we're all about the letters today. And I want to see Ken Walker in driving, because if he's able to pick up just a few yards and and get 4 yards on first down, that's going to put us in more favorable positions against the Jets. And I'm with Clinton to a sense on that running on 2nd and 10, because it seems like those 2nd and 10 runs are, frustratingly not effective. And I don't know if maybe that's a sense of putting pressure on Walker, that he feels like he needs to get more than on
I got to get
2nd and
6
10,
here
right?
because
Because we failed on first down. Now I've got to get 8 or 10, when, just getting 4 would be fine to put you in that 3rd and 6 more routinely. And I think that's the goal of some of those 2nd and 10, right? Runs. You just get 4 yards. That way we have a 3rd and manageable ish, and it ends up going nowhere because he's not going at a hole, deciding and just pushing ahead for those 4 yards. He wants to make the bigger play. So I think that the mentality of it might be messing with Walker a little bit. That's maybe not. It just, when you said that, that's where I could see that becoming a concern.
It's faith. You got to have faith, right? I mean, just like a quarterback has to have faith that Lockett's going to come open, and he is. You trust it. You throw it there. The running back, to be decisive, has to have faith that Damian Lewis is going to get his guy, and I'm going to run there. And it didn't work before. I got to run there anyway because I got to trust. I got to trust that it's open. And so it works together. These guys have to show one another, but Walker's got to keep trusting his guy. And when they see that he trusts them, they're going to try a little bit harder. I don't know if that was what you were going to say, Clint, or you had something else to tag
that's
on
good.
that.
I think that all goes in the same Waldron cauldron pot here, right? And another way that I think we could help a runner like K9 is it's frustrating when we run on 2nd and 9 or 2nd and 10. And the reason it's frustrating is not because philosophically it's wrong, because Brandon, you just said why it could be right. It's like go get 4 or 5 yards and get into manageable. Philosophically, there's nothing wrong with that. When we're executing that in shotgun, where you're in shotgun, there's no respect for the RPO. It's just a repeat of what we saw the last 2.5 years of Chris Carson and Russ. And we've seen this before. It doesn't work. The DN just can crash down and not respect anything there. And and there's no momentum with Ken Walker when that dude is like, he's so good once he gets into that first gear and can make that first cut. He puts dudes on skates all the time. Extremely hard to do that when you're in shotgun and handing it off into his belly, and he has no momentum towards the line of scrimmage. It's harder to be decisive. So like, can we help him out a bit? Can we get under center more? I kind of understood it against the Niners, and I kind of understood it. I get it, because you got the Niners, you got Bosa. KC, you got Chris Jones. Well, guess what? Guess what happens the next 2 weeks? Are we just not going to go under center because we got Williams and then Don? Like, what are we doing? Like, we've got to be okay with get back under center and give the ball in a situation to Walker where he has momentum to the line of scrimmage. That at least would be an evolution where I could say on 2nd and 9 and 2nd and 10, I could accept it. But being in shotgun and running that in 2nd and 10, where now it's 3rd and 12, it's unacceptable. And if I could see it and you guys are head nodding, well, then Waldron should be able to see it too.
Yeah, it's a multicolored pack of Rolaids, it sounds like here. There's a few things. My understanding, 2nd down, you get at least 2 plays, though. So Geno's got to decide on the box if he's going to go with the pass or the run. Most of the time, they're going to go up there, and based on what he's seeing from the defense, he's going to call one or the other. I don't think Shane says, no matter what, you throw the ball here. But maybe that's what you want. Maybe you want to move to that.
Well, I want to ask you guys this. I think this is a really good question to lob back to y'all. Is it goes back to the idea, has Geno regressed in some ways? And is it risk-taking, or is it decision-making? Has there been less audibling into stuff recently that you have seen? I could quickly see, like in the KC game, there's a few instances where there's like 7 dudes in the box and a safety is actively creeping to become the 8th. And we just run the ball. We run the ball right into the face of it. And I just wonder, like, Is he not seeing it differently? Is he being coached differently? But I feel like earlier in the year, he might pause and then all of a sudden it's a quick hitter to Disley because they've showed him a different face. I don't know if you
Felt like
guys
he
have
had more
seen that.
time. It felt like he had a lot more time too, didn't it?
You mean, do
Like
you mean time at
he's
the
making
line or?
choices at 13, yeah, 13,
Yeah.
14 seconds, and he's switching to something and it's working great. And now he's like panicking at 3 seconds, which was what Russ did. I have no idea why that's happening. Did you notice that too, Brandon?
It does seem like there's a whole lot less time from when they're going from the huddle to the line to even make those calls. So when you brought that up, Clinton, I got to thinking, have we seen a whole lot of audible calls from Geno? And it seems like they're taking the play clock way down to the last second again.
Yeah, he's clapping his hands right on the 1 and 0.
Injuries are a huge factor. Guys don't get a practice. A lot of that stuff really affects these things.
Yeah. I just wonder if others are seeing it too, or if it's something that like I saw it once and therefore I think that's happening more times than it actually is.
Right.
And I'm not sure, but it feels that way. And it feels Phil, what you said, that's how it
first and second down is behind all of it. Is so much of this though, right? First and second down, because now we're getting these horrible thirds that we didn't have in the first part of the season. If we could get the right play, the right flow going on first and second down, Geno's going to look like a genius again. I really have confidence.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay, we're done, but I wanted to throw a C in here just because it's a spelling day. And today's episode is brought to you by the letters B and the letter D. No. What if you spell one word you want to see from our Hawks in these final 2 weeks? You got to be able to spell it. So that way everybody can, it's a simple one word. Brandon first, then Clinton. You just got to spell the word in the final 2 weeks. We want to see this. I think I know what Brandon's is, but let's hear it. Go ahead.
Oh, well, shoot. Now that you put me on the spot that you know what mine is, I could go so many different directions. But
okay.
I can I go with an abbreviation rather than a full word?
Sure.
I say yes.
I just want to see TDS's touchdowns.
TDS. Okay, so I was totally wrong. Okay, Clinton.
I want to see a lot of things. I want to see us stop the run. I want to see it. I want to see defense. I want to see turnover, INTs. I'll take INTs.
I thought it was going to be aggressive or physical. One of those. I really was sure you wanted to see.
I used that last week.
Okay.
I
you can't repeat that.
And I don't want to spell physicality right now.
No, okay. Clinton, one word you want to see in these final 2 weeks.
Perfect. No, I like this. I'm going to stick with when Adrian wakes up from the coma and leaning over to Rocky's leaning over to Adrian, and she calls him a little bit closer and she just whispers, win, WIN, just win.
We can do that.
So win. It's, and the reason it's for me, it's a just win baby type thing is like, it's not like, hey, if we win 10-3 and 10-3, like, well, we're going to get our asses handed.
I would love 10-3. I would love
right. It would be kind of cool. Right. It's because no matter if we were to win these next 2 games, then to me, it's like, then we have figured something out. We're 1-5 in our last 6. If we beat 2 teams that are, I know the Rams have had a bad year, but I don't think they're a bad talent team. I think we saw that, they're playing hard. That team's still playing hard for McVay. Say what you will about McVay. They're playing for him. It will show me that we do belong. Whether we make the playoffs or not, we do belong in that conversation. So just win, WIN.
Got it. I like that. That I'm fine with win. Okay, last prediction time. Last week, no one predicted anything properly. Of course, I think you guys predicted with your hearts. I think you might have predicted otherwise, but you still didn't get it right. So Clinton's he's up 7-3. Brandon, let's see. Brandon gets to go first. Your what if Super Hawk? Who's your wish for this week? Don't forget, listeners, plug something in. I would have read a successful wish. There were a bunch of them in the wishing well. Nobody got that right either. So try again. You might get it read next week. But Brandon, your wish and your score for this game against the Jets's.
My wish for this game is for the guy on Clinton's screen up behind him to be able to hold on to an interception that comes his way. So
He needs
Quandre
one.
Diggs, at least one interception
I believe it. Yeah.
against this Jets defense. He's, it's time.
It's time.
It's time for him. And he needs to help out his guy, Geno Smith, to continue this revenge tour because he's been perfect with it. And so, yeah, Geno Smith also gets the win against another former team. And he does it with a score of 21-19.
21. Time, why you punish me?
Little Hootie.
Little Hootie.
What do you got? What do you got, Clinton?
All right.
Your wish and your score.
So my wish here. This one I really excited to see. I'm excited to maybe find this, hopefully find this for our gambling show as well for PNW Prop Stars. I want to see Parkinson with 5 receptions and over 50 yards receiving.
Whoa.
There's no Disley.
Well, there's no Disley. Yeah,
I know, but still.
Disley's out. It's not 1 for 12. That's not his usual stat line. I think he had 5
times multiple on the Kobe Parkinson.
Yep. And I think there's a way
that hit it.
Yeah. I want to see Parkinson. Yeah, I think
it's again.
It's a wish. Yeah, it's again, right. Another one, right? So this is my wish. Parkinson, 5 receptions, 50 yards, and over both that or over for both of those. That'll portend well for this final score. I've got this game. It's close. I've got 20-16. I had 17-16, but I see us getting one more field goal there. 20-16 Seahawks.
All right.
I hope. It's I hope I'm not going with my heart again over what my mind's telling me, but I just can't have the Jets beat us, guys. Can't have it.
I agree with you guys this week. I did not agree last week. I agree. I watched.
You pushed me into picking our team last week, Phil. That's how. What do you mean you didn't agree with me? You were telling me to pick our Seahawks against the Chiefs.
Did I really?
You did.
No, I said, because what I said was every time you pick against us, we lose. So yeah, I guess that's true. I did kind of what is that called? Poison the well a little bit.
You did. You wanted me to give you hope, and I did. And
you guys gave me hope. Yeah, just so that I can.
I'm not catching Clinton anyway, so screw it.
Yeah. But you picked by a smaller margin. Clinton's like, it's a close game, and then he gave a bigger margin than you.
It is a close. I had it at 17-16, and then I heard Brandon's. I said, all right, well, I can't do a 1 point differential. So I had it at 17-16. I bumped it to 20-16. So one more Myers field goal will do. And that'd be nice. I would love.
I'm with you guys. I want to win by 2 scores. I feel like we can win by 2 scores.
I feel like 4 is good enough. And 1's good enough. Just win.
All right, gentlemen. Anything to add? Where we need to find anything we need to do? Get in, be a flocker so you can get in the Discord. That's where the fun's happening, right? Join in with us.
Absolutely.
I don't know what does it take to get in the Discord again, Brandon?
Yeah, you can go to getintheflock.com. $3 a month and above get you into the Discord.
$3.
12 and above get you into the Facebook group. But yeah, just $3 a month.
Less than a regular gift card for the whole year.
At Discord. Yep.
Very good. Gentlemen, what if we say go Hawks?
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.